Welcome back to Wired to Be Rich. If you're new here, welcome in. I'm so glad you found me. And if you've been listening for a while, you already know I don't hold back. So buckle up, y'all, because we're about to get straight into it. The title of this episode says exactly what needed to be said. My friends have made me feel like shit. My exes, if I'm being real, weren't exactly the best investment of my time. And the wild part is I'm not even sad about it anymore, y'all, because right now, in this very moment, I am the richest I've ever been in my life. And I don't just mean that in a money sense, even though, yes, the money looks good. I mean in rich in clarity, rich in energy, rich in peace, rich in finally knowing who belongs in my life and who doesn't. And that kind of richness hits way harder than any paycheck because once you clear out the noise, once you cut off those draining attachments and all the distractions that kept you stuck, that's when you actually make room for the life you were supposed to be living. And let me be clear, this episode isn't about dragging people or calling people out. This is about looking at the reality of friendships and relationships through a different lens. We're going to talk about the psychology of it all, the different kinds of friends we all have, why relationships shift depending on where we are in life, what to do when a friendship starts to feel unequal, and how to really check yourself and ask, am I being the kind of friend I want others to be for me? Because that's what changed everything for me. I stopped obsessing over what I didn't have or who I thought I lost, and I started doubling down on what was already in front of me. That shift, that one move, is why I can say with my entire chest that I am the richest I've ever been, and that's what I want to break down today. So let's jump right into it.
She's not just a podcast host. She's a movement.
Manda Lea is teaching people how to break cycles and build real wealth, mentally, financially, and spiritually.
People all over the world are waking up to her message.
Wired to be Rich isn't just a podcast, it's a mindset shift.
She makes you believe again in yourself, in your power, and your ability to actually have the life you always known was meant for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Manda Lea, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Balance and Destiny, and this is Wired to Be Rich. When we think about friendships, most of us lump them all together, right? Like either you're my friend or you're not. But in psychology, friendship is actually broken down into 3 different categories. And once I learned this, it really freed me from putting unrealistic expectations on people who weren't even capable of being what I wanted them to be. And this is very recent for me learning wise. And I was like, I have to share it with y'all. So the big 3 categories are utility, pleasure, and virtue. Utility is simple, y'all. These are friendships built on convenience. They're the people you work with, your gym buddy, the neighbor you always talk to when you take the trash out. There is nothing wrong with these friendships, but they're not meant to go the distance, right? They serve a purpose in a specific context. And once that context changes, the friendship usually fades. I want y'all to really think about this. How many people do you know that you swore were your best friends at that one job, right? You told them everything. And then as soon as you left that job, y'all never spoke again. And no hard feelings, you just never talked. That's utility. Then you have the pleasure friendships. These are the fun friendships, y'all, the people you hit the clubs and the bars with, the travel buddy, the brunch crew. These friendships are built around shared enjoyment, and they are great. Don't get me wrong, but again, they're not always long-term because once the fun stops or your lifestyle shifts into a different direction, those friendships don't often have the depth to keep going. And that's not betrayal. It's just the reality of pleasure based on connection. And then we get to the last category, my favorite, the virtue friendships. These are the rare friendships, y'all. This is where you and the other person connect on values, on growth, on who you actually are at your core. These are the friendships that you can go months without speaking to and then pick right back up because the bond isn't built on convenience or entertainment. It's built on alignment. Psychology would say these are the only true friendships because they're not dependent on circumstance. But here's the thing. Most of us don't even know how to tell the difference. We treat utility friends like virtue friends, and then we're heartbroken when the friendship doesn't last. Or we put pressure on the pleasure friendship to be a soulmate level connection, and we get disappointed when it's not. The truth is, most people will cycle in and out of your life depending on your stage, and that's just facts, and it's normal. You'll have a utility crew when you're at one job, a pleasure crew when you're in your party phase, want to go out and turn up and be outside, and then a couple of virtue friends who actually make it through every transition and don't judge you and love you through everything. When you understand that, you stop over romanticizing every single friendship you have. You stop taking it personal when someone doesn't show up the way you wanted them to. Because it's not about them feeling you, it's about the category of the friendship. Because when you know what bucket someone belongs in, you know what to expect. And you can stop overextending yourself where it's never going to be reciprocated. Here's how I look at it now. And I'm going to pivot from friendships to men, but it ties into both, okay? The type of men or even friends, but for this specific part, type of men that I was dating when I was 24, 25 are not even in my line of vision at 31. And that's not just growth, that's seasons. Back then, I was entertaining men who had vibes but no vision. They were fun, they were outside, they had stories for days, but if you asked them about a 5-year plan, they couldn't even tell you what they were doing next Friday, y'all. And the crazy thing is, as much as I hate to admit this, at the time, they matched me. They matched me, y'all. I wasn't operating at a high level either. I was just looking for a good time, a distraction. And those men were the mirror. Looking back now, they weren't just losers because they were losers, okay? But they were the loser version of me that I hadn't outgrown yet. Now, fast forward to my 30s. I just got here, but the whole system is different. I don't want chaos. I don't want struggle love. I don't want to feel like somebody's mother cleaning up after a grown man. Now I crave stability, ambition, alignment, deep pockets, big goals, generous endowments, if you get what I mean. I want men who can stand next to me without me dragging them like a liability. And that shift isn't about me suddenly being picky. It's that I outgrew the version of myself that needed chaos to feel alive. But here's the trap no one talks about. Even when your mind levels up, your body remembers the old comfort zone. That's why people relapse, right? That's why you'll catch yourself answering texts from somebody you know you're supposed to be done with, or you're hanging around the same circles you know you have already outgrown, doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's so boring. It's not because you actually want to or you want them. It's because your nervous system is still wired to find safety in what's familiar. So when I look back now, I don't call those relationships failures. They were snapshots. Each one showed me who I was, what I tolerated, and what I still needed to grow out of. And the second I stopped dragging expired people into my new season, that's when everything opened up. That's when I realized I don't even see those men anymore because I don't see that version of me anymore either. In the same way I realized I had outgrown certain men, I started noticing that I had outgrown certain friends too, y'all. The first sign is always the imbalance. When a friendship starts feeling one-sided, that's your cue that you're out of alignment with somebody. And the crazy part is that it doesn't even always happen because they turned into some like op. A lot of the time, nothing bad happened at all, if you're lucky. But you just grew apart and the energy doesn't match anymore. And here's what it looks like in real life. You might be the only one always texting first, always making the drive, always listening to their drama on repeat. And when you finally need someone to show up for you, crickets. Who's been that girl or that guy? Me. Raise your hand. At first, you excuse it. You tell yourself they're busy. Or you lower your standards by saying, well, that's just how they are. But your body knows the truth. You leave the interaction drained instead of full, and that's not friendship. That's a transaction you didn't agree to. And here's where you've got to get real honest. You have to ask yourself, am I keeping this friendship alive because of who they are now or because I'm attached to who they used to be or who they have the potential to be? Because if the only way this thing survives is by you overfunctioning, giving more than you get, shrinking your needs just to keep the pace or the peace, that's not friendship anymore. That's maintenance. And maintenance gets expensive fast, y'all. The real test is simple. Stop carrying it. Period. Pull back. If they step forward and meet you halfway, cool. Maybe they just needed that space to realize they weren't matching your energy. But don't overdo it though either, y'all, because some people can y'all be overdoing it sometimes. Right? But if you pull back and the whole friendship collapses, there's your answer. They weren't a core, ride or die, or a virtue level friend. They were seasonal. And that's okay. There's no shame in that. But there's also no reason to bankrupt yourself emotionally just to keep something alive that was already dead. And since we're talking about imbalance, I can't just point the finger outward, okay? Because one thing about this podcast, we are accountability warriors over here, and we don't shy away from telling ourselves about ourselves. It is too easy to drag bad friends or call men out or call women out, right? But at some point, you've got to flip the mirror and ask, am I even being the kind of friend or partner that I expect in return? That's the uncomfortable part that nobody wants to sit with. We all love to believe that we're the solid ones, the loyal ones, the dependable ones. But if we're honest, most of us are guilty of the same shit we complain about. Maybe you ghost a friend because you're too wrapped up in your own world. You have things going on and they're valid, but you're in your own world. Maybe you only hit people up when you're lonely or need a distraction. Maybe you get real quiet when someone close to you is winning because deep down it stirs up your own insecurities. Not because you're jealous of them, but because they're reflecting back to you your shortcomings. And in relationships, it's the same. Maybe you've been too focused on what you're not getting that you never stop to ask if you were actually giving it either. The truth is, being a strong friend or partner isn't complicated, but it is rare. It means you can celebrate people's wins without making it about you. It means you check in without needing something in return. It means you can give without secretly keeping score. And when it comes to relationships, it's listening to understand, not waiting for your turn to clap back. It's creating space for their needs, even when they don't look like yours. It's being able to say, I love you, but I can't carry this for you, instead of pretending you can and then resenting them later. And I am not preaching here on some high horse, y'all. This is something we all go through in every single season of our lives and every single decade. I don't think there's a person on this earth that has fully mastered what I am saying. But to be consciously aware of it and trying makes a hell of a difference. And that's the part that people don't get. Being a good friend or partner doesn't mean erasing yourself to prove loyalty. If you're constantly betraying your own boundaries, pouring out without ever replenishing, that's not love. That's self-abandonment dressed up as devotion. The real question isn't, do I have good friends or do I have a good partner? The real question is, am I one? Because that sets the tone. That decides whether the connection deepens or rots from the inside out. At the end of the day, being good at love, whether it's platonic or romantic, comes down to honesty, consistency, and the self-awareness to check yourself before you start projecting onto everybody else. So when I say that I am the richest I've ever been, everybody assumes I'm talking about money. And yeah, the money looks better than it ever has. But that's not the flex. The real wealth came when I cleared out negativity, cut the unhealthy attachments, and finally stopped running in circles with people who were draining me. Because let's be honest, what good is money if your energy is bankrupt? What good is success if you're waking up heavy every day because you're still entertaining people who don't pour back into you? Real wealth is when your time belongs to you, when your peace isn't up for debate, when the people around you actually feed your spirit instead of draining it dry. That's the kind of richness that you can't fake. The turning point was when I stopped apologizing, y'all. I stopped explaining my boundaries. I stopped shrinking so other people could feel comfortable around me. And the second I dropped that, everything shifted. When you stop chasing what you don't have and double down on what you do, the world will respond. Opportunities show up fast. The right people stay, the wrong people exit, and even the money, it follows the energy you're already living in. So when I say I'm rich, I don't just mean my bank account. I mean, I can say no without guilt. I can wake up excited instead of drained. I can cut ties with relationships that don't want me back and not lose a minute of sleep over it. That's wealth. That's freedom. And once you've tasted that kind of richness, there's no going back, y'all. So yeah, the friendships that made me feel small, the relationships that drained me, they turned out to be my best teachers and turned me into the ultimate go-getter, the ultimate beast, because that's how I learned who I really was. And that's why I can say with my chest that I am the richest I have ever been. Not just in my bank account, but in my clarity, my peace, and in my freedom. If you take anything from this episode, let it be this. Every friendship, every relationship, every messy ending is a mirror. It's showing you what needs to go and what you're ready to grow into. And the sooner you stop clinging to what's expired, the sooner you can make room for the kind of wealth that no one can measure. And before we close out, I want to shout out my friend Vanessa from Mari V Creations. She just dropped a book called Just Enough. It's one of those reads that will make you rethink what you're chasing and remind you that you already are more than you think. I'm going to link it in the show notes so you can grab a copy. Trust me, it is so worth it. She put so much thought and effort into it, and I'm so proud of her. But as always, if this episode hit for you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Drop a review. Send me a message and let me know what part spoke to you the most. We are officially in Q4 and I'm just getting started, y'all. And if this is rich now, or if I'm this rich now, just wait until you see what's next. I will see y'all next time. Oh, before I go, y'all, I am literally about to go on my 10th vacation this year. I think this is like my 4th country. What is going on? But we can talk about that next episode. Until next time, I will see y'all next week. Thank you so much for listening to me. Give this show a thumbs up. Give me some stars. Leave me a review. Tag me on social media. Tell me what's tea. I love to hear from y'all. It makes my day. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.